With a visit to the polling place and a new decade just around the corner, I found myself ruminating on the worst election campaigns of the last 10 years. Gordon Brown's terrible 2010 effort springs to mind, with its wince-inducing that bigoted woman comment. Then there was Ed Miliband in 2015. From the meaningless pledges carved on the ridiculous EdStone to the notorious bacon roll moment, he was doomed to failure. Theresa May's 2017 run was also disastrous, of course, the then PM's astounding lack of personal charm and hated dementia tax ultimately leading to the grim chaos of the last 18 months. After Thursday we may well be adding another name to this roster of failure, Jo Swinson. Unless there is some sort of dramatic, nay miraculous, change in the state of play, the Lib Dems are heading for a crushingly poor result in this week's general election. If the polls bear out, it will be the sort of result Ms Swinson, who has only been the party's leader since July, will call disappointing in public, in the full knowledge such humiliation usually ends in a change in leadership. Current UK-wide polls put the party at around 12% of the vote, considerably down on the 20% plus of only a few weeks ago. Obviously, polls don't tell the whole story, and the party could well pick up a few seats from the Tories in London and other strongly Remain constituencies. Crucially, however, Ms Swinson has nowhere near the level of electoral or personal support that allowed Nick Clegg to become kingmaker back in 2010. Indeed, in what would be a particularly painful case of history repeating itself, she could even lose her East Dunbartonshire seat. Mr Clegg was memorably ousted by voters in Sheffield Hallam in 2017. It could and should have been very different for the Lib Dems when it became clear the Conservatives would not get a Brexit deal through the House of Commons. But rather than capitalising on the opportunities this presented, putting herself in a position of potential power, the party under Ms Swinson has blown it. Big time. How could this happen? Put bluntly, through a catalogue of basic strategic errors strewn with arrogance and ignorance. First, there was the terrible decision to put revoking Article 50 at the centre of the party's manifesto. Rather than putting the Lib Dems centre stage on Brexit, the policy has sidelined them. Ms Swinson and her advisers obviously assumed Remainers would jump at this idea. In fact, even many of those most ardently opposed to Brexit believe a second referendum is a fairer, more democratic way to change the course of Brexit. Committing to ignoring the result of the 2017 referendum and revoking Article 50 means Lib Dems are now perceived by many, even on the Remain side, as extremists. Paddy Ashdown would be turning in his grave. Then there was the bizarre spectacle of EMS. For more on this story, visit the news article link.